Welcome back to Business Behind Your Business podcast. I'm your host, Paul Sweating, Chartered Accountant and Business Advisor. And a few weeks ago, we had a conversation with Harry Nathoo talking about this idea of what does the future of work look like. Now, Harry has given us some more information in terms of what are the skills that we're going to need to actually equip ourselves for the future of work. So we're going to continue our conversation with Harry Nathoo from Keystone Active Learning. It's a great conversation. Harry shares some valuable information about what skills we're going to need for the future of work. So I hope you enjoy listening, and I hope you pick up some great skills that are going to help you move forward in this new work environment that we're all in.
The new future of work is going to require employees to have at least eight critical skills. I mean, depending on the industry that you're going to work in and the type of job you're going to do. But typically, the first one is really critical thinking. Right? And this is no order of priority. It's just a case of, randomly numbered. So one is critical thinking. And so the ability to ask questions. So people, employees that take on these jobs should be able to ask questions and dig deeper so that they can objectively evaluate information and clearly and rationally make informed decisions. Asking, things like why, what, when, how type of questions get you to think critically and solve problems, because that's what employers today will also be looking for from the employee. That how can you come in and help to improve the environment in which we're working? Maybe you can show us a way on how we can do things differently. Right. And with that, obviously, comes creativity and innovation. We're currently developing a whole short course on creativity and problem solving. And in that, we're talking about the ability to think creatively and outside the box. Right? And you are more likely to come up with unique and innovative solutions to challenge, what you're encountering. So employers are looking out for people who display creative skills, not only to solve problems, but also to find new innovative ways to do things better and more efficiently. That is what employers will be looking for. And then obviously how, we're talking about people working from home and talking remotely, is how you're going to actually communicate and developing that emotional intelligence. So, communication has always been important. Pre-COVID, post-COVID, it's going to become even more important than ever before. And that is because you're going to be having a hybrid model where some people will be at the office, some people will be working from home. And how are you going to continue communicating with each other that, minimizes conflict and people have a good understanding of what you are saying? So, having good communication skills are very important because it will help people to not only understand their own, but also other people's style of communication. So, and that brings up the whole topic of diversity as well. You're working in a very diverse environment today. And sometimes the way you communicate to people can be misinterpreted to be harsh or hostile or whatever. And that type of thing can cause conflict. So having good communication skills will help you to understand your own and other people's style of communication, understand others better, and be understood by others. And then build stronger interpersonal relationships, communicate effectively even when you are working remotely. So that particular part where you communicate remotely is to, you have to be relevant. You have to remain relevant in your role. You have to be up to date with what's happening within the organization. You have to know that the company's vision and goal, that you are aligned to that. And so it is so important that in learning to communicate, you got to communicate often. You have to communicate very clearly and eloquently. You have to listen attentively. That's the other important thing about communication, is to listen attentively. And have as many questions as you have. Ask those questions, because that brings about clarity. and understanding of what your task should be
So
working in that
how do we
hybrid
do that,
model.
Harry? I think in this new environment, how do we manage that? Does it mean we need to have more regular, not just meetings with our employees, but meetings with a purpose to perhaps look at how we do things here, how can we improve, or what systems are failing, what are we having issues with? Is there a need for more structured communication with employees, particularly in a remote working environment?
I think one of the things we found in our business or working with clients is that they will always identify communication as an area of concern. And they would ask us that, do you deliver a communication skills program? And the answer to that is yes, we do. But is that the right thing to do? When you offer a communication skills program, does that really help people to improve their communication effectively? The answer to that, from our perspective, is no. And the way we go about doing that is actually running the program in a way where you help people to first identify their own communication style, right? And then by understanding their own style, when they're communicating with somebody else, they will be easily able, with practice, of course, will be able to easily pick up the style of the person they're communicating with. So if you're communicating, if you know the DISC model, if you're dealing with somebody that is a high D, you know that with that person, you got to be to the point. Don't talk about the weather. Don't talk about how's your morning. Get down to what you have to talk about, because that person wants to know the facts and wants to know what your solution is. Right? That's what that person wants to know. So that's understanding your communication style will then help you to identify the person you talk, what their style is. When you're talking to somebody with an I profile, you know that person is going to be a very talkative person. That person will want to engage with you first, get to know you better, talk about the weather, talk about the weekend, before they will actually get down to talking about what the purpose of that call is. And for them, rapport building becomes a more important thing than, just getting to the point of what you want to talk about. So we do this type of thing, and we found that works fantastic because people get to understand themselves. They get to understand the person they're talking with. And they also then realize that, I need to change my communication style when I'm talking to different types of people. I need to, when I'm talking to people from a different background to my own, how do I engage with those people? Knowing those things helps you to reduce workplace stress and anxiety. It reduces all the issues about bullying and harassment. And doing that, and how to make eye contact, especially when you're working remotely, all those things play a critical role. I always tell people that if you on Zoom and you're running on Teams, it's pointless if you're going to switch your camera off. Because the whole purpose of building rapport is for somebody to see you. Right? If you want to build trust, if you want to build good relationships with your colleagues at work, it is so important that your camera is on. Right? So people can see you. People can read your body language, can see what you're trying, the message you're trying to get across. When you have your camera switched on, you may come across as being arrogant or harsh, and people perceive that way. Yet that is not who you are, or that is not your intention. But that is how you would come across to people, because they can't see your body language. And that is so important. And so we always telling our clients that, when you're working remotely, because they come up with these things, they come and tell us that, we're having problems in the workplace because, we're working remotely and some people don't understand what the manager is saying. And I said, well, how do you conduct those Teams meetings? Right? Is everybody's camera switched on? Right? It's so important that they do that. If you want to work remotely, you also got to be fair about to the employer and be visible. It is so important because part of that whole communication is not only to be heard, but it is also to be seen. And that's so important. And so people need to understand that. So communication is something that, is always going to be relevant in the future of work, no matter what role it's going to be, because you're still going to be talking to people. And then obviously emotional intelligence, building your emotional intelligence, you learn how to handle and understand your own emotions, but also the emotions of other people, of others around you, whether they are also working remotely. And that's where the body language comes in as well. So understanding your own level of emotions helps you to be empathetic and shows you how to empathize with others when that is needed. So self-awareness is the key, is the starting point for emotional intelligence. And that is something that we propagate to our clients all the time, that you got to build that level of emotional intelligence in your workforce. If you're going down this path of a hybrid workforce, emotional intelligence does play a critical role in all of that. The other skill set, Paul, is really continuous learning mindset. So I think the future of work is going to entail a lifelong learning. We're going to have to learn as new technologies come about and how we're going to deal with those technologies and how we're going to be relevant as employees. How are we going to be relevant in the future of work? So, and employers have to play their part by giving those employees that opportunity to learn. So they got to give them that opportunity to attend, virtual classes, online classes. And those are the type of things that we are developing at the moment. We're developing some really cool stuff, interactive stuff for individuals and as well as for employers, for group coaching, where these type of skills come into being as to how you go about developing this culture, this mindset of continuous learning within the workplace so that you can remain relevant in the future of work.
Are you seeing a shift in that?
Sorry?
Are you seeing a shift in, I guess, the business owner or the employer's approach to enabling their employees to participate in learning? Because I know years ago when I started, training was a premium cost, so there was a lot of resentment about paying for staff to attend training. If there was also the objection that if you was doing training, you weren't producing for me. So have we seen a shift in the mindset of employers?
Yeah, I think, and I'll use the word progressive employers here, because you have some employers that still have the mindset of, why should I train them because they're still going to leave. Right. So I think more and more employers are beginning to realize that I have to train my staff. I have to give them opportunities to learn and grow, because that ultimately is a benefit to my business. And I think if employers adopt that mindset where they continuously give their employees the opportunity to learn and grow, employees do stay. It's not that they jump around and leave. Obviously, a lot of other things come into play, but we find that today's salary is not the determining factor for people to stay at work. It's not the number one priority. The number one priority is how flexible are you going to be in terms of how I can do my work. So we're talking about the future of work here, but also what opportunities are you going to provide to me to develop myself? Those are the things. So employers are asking us, so how can we provide this opportunity for people to learn certain skills that are relevant for our business? And we tell them, because gone are the days when companies would send people out for 5 days to go and do training. They can't afford it anymore, right? So the best way to do that is to actually do online training. That can be live training, can be pre-recorded training that requires them to then do certain amount of work as well. They can complete workbooks, or you run 1 hour, 2 hour live sessions. Currently, as we speak, Raj is currently delivering leadership training for a large transport company. Now, you can imagine in transport, people are on the move all the time, but the company is very, very focused on getting these people skilled. And so he's running a leadership training program, which is going to run over 6 months. And he's doing 2 hours a month. And in that time, he's doing specific areas that the client has identified as area of need. And communication is one of them. Emotional intelligence is another one. That's forming part of that whole emotional intelligence, that whole leadership training program. So 2 hour webinars, we're doing it live, and the people are enjoying it, because when Raj does this training, he goes actually way beyond what is required for that particular topic. He will bring in real life examples of what is actually happening in the workplace. And we load that up with a lot of videos, a lot of scenarios that people can learn from, and how others are experiencing things like that in their businesses, and how they can learn from that. So I think companies are looking for training. They don't want generic training. They are looking for customized training that is relevant to their business. And they want it delivered in a cost-effective and a flexible manner. And that is the direction that we are heading with our clients. We offer them, cost-effective training. We give them recorded sessions if they want. So if a person cannot attend at that time, can always go back and view the recording, and then have a Q&A session with the trainer. And we set times out for organizations like that, okay, we will set up so they can study the course on their own. And we'll have Q&A sessions once a month, and they bring all their questions there, and we can have a 2-hour Q&A session and bring all of that. Or if there isn't enough questions for that time, we will go over key elements of their training program or parts of it for that month, so that reinforce the skills that they can pick up from that particular topic.
So I guess just on that, Harry, I think you mentioned avoiding generic training. It sounds like obviously the training you're delivering has a very key purpose. It's structured. It's therefore to provide a particular skill. So if I'm an employer looking to structure or at least map out what training my employees need, I'm looking for training courses that actually deliver outcomes that are going to equip the employee not just to do their job, but to be able to lead, to be able to have empathy with customers. It's not just a case of throwing money at training and saying, go and find something. I think there's an obligation as the business owner or the in large organizations, there's the person responsible for training staff to actually give structure and guidance about what skills need to be acquired.
That's right. And when that happens, especially in small organizations, it's easier for us to sit with key stakeholders within the business and identify what they see as the gaps within the training. In large organizations, it takes a longer period. We've had a client with 200 employees, and we've had to meet with line managers. So we got a briefing from the HR, from the L&D manager, and then she said, "Look, let's have a focus group meeting." And this was all online via Zoom, right? So we had a focus group meeting, and she brought in all the other managers from different departments. So there were about 6 departments. And brought these managers in and said, right, this is what we want to deliver. So what are the areas of concern for you in your department? And we got all these guys to speak up as to what challenges they were facing. So, it was thing about team collaboration, communication skills. There's a lot of conflict going on within the workplace, less tolerance, because of working remotely. And people are going through all sorts of personal challenges as well. The level of tolerance drops. So how do you deal with all of those things? And so we saw that there was a common theme coming across from all the six managers. And so we were able to design a program that covered all those things. And we then asked them to give us examples, no names mentioned, just give us examples of scenarios that took place that resulted in a conflict situation in the workplace. And then we would use that type of a scenario and show people how you can overcome that type of problem so that it doesn't get ugly. How do you solve this? And all of that comes, I mean, look, again, it depends on the employer. How much do they really want to invest in their people? If you want to invest and get the best out of your people, then obviously you're going to spend a bit more money. And you're going to do things like emotional intelligence assessments, because that really cuts out all the guesswork. When you do those type of assessments, you find the benchmark. You find out exactly what the starting point is for those people. Where is each person sitting at this point in time, right? Let's find that out. Then we know how to design that program. We know what to focus on, right? So that it leads to the outcomes that you're looking for. And these things can be done in a cost-effective way and doesn't have to take a lot of time. Right? Doing an EQ assessment will take you about 20-25 minutes to complete, but the report that you get is so detailed. And we use that. So while the individual gets their own personalized report, we would also go into detail with the training program, where we incorporate the various reports and create a group report and be able to identify exactly what are the common things that everybody is good at and where the gaps are and how we can address those gaps. And that is what brings a return on investment for the employer. And I think a lot of employers are looking at training. While they've said that, or the notion out there is that employers are not interested in training, I think a lot of people have had bad experiences in the past. And that is because they were given generic programs that did not resonate. In my previous life, when I was working in training, this is one of the things that I learned, is that you can ask an employee, how was the training? You've been there for 5 days of training. How did you find the training? And the response you would get in most cases was, the trainer was fantastic. I got so much out of this training. 6 months down the track, you go back to the HR manager and you say, okay, so how was the training? Do you see an improvement in the workplace? And the response you would get was that we don't see an improvement. Now, the reason for that is that while the employers attended the training and found the trainer energetic and giving a lot of information and it's generic by nature, it hasn't addressed key issues that employee is facing in the workplace. When you run a customized program, you're actually addressing key things that they are experiencing in the workplace. And how can we improve on that performance of that employee? That is what I think a lot of L&D managers today and business owners are looking for. That how can you provide a targeted, cost-effective training program that can address the issues that I'm facing in my workplace. Just quickly going back to the example I gave you about the guy who I spoke to yesterday at Castle Towers. And he's saying, I'm finding it really hard to good staff. Nobody wants to work, and those that were working for me have left. Right? And I said, if I ask you, why do you think they left? And the response he would get is, oh, well, somebody's probably giving them a couple of dollars per hour more than what I was giving. Or they decided to go and work probably in a different retail outlet because they're probably getting more money there than what I was giving here. And I said, okay, to start off, were you giving a minimum wage? Yeah, I was giving a minimum wage. But, he says people will go if they get $2 more per hour somewhere else, they're going to leave. And I said, well, there is a way you can solve that problem. And I said, it's going to cost you money, but then you will recruit the right caliber of people. And the way you do that is a tool called a motivational map. And what that tool does, it identifies what is actually motivating the person who you're planning to employ. If that person is merely looking to put a roof over their head or to find additional money to pay for their uni fees or to put food on the table or to pay their apartment rent or whatever the case is, then that is probably not the type of person you want to employ. You want to find somebody that is passionate about hospitality, that feels that I want to make a career for myself in hospitality and I want to start from the ground up. So I'm happy to work in a small coffee shop, learn all these skills that I need to learn, from customer service to, making sandwiches, using my hands, becoming more accustomed to working in a hospitality environment. And then work my way up from there, because I'm probably studying a degree in hospitality or doing some course at TAFE on hospitality. And so they want to do that. Those are the type of people that you want to employ, because they will stay. They will stay longer they're not going to stay with you forever, but they will stay much longer than what you're just taking people randomly who apply for a job and say, yeah, okay, I can start you off. And they're taking this job purely because they need to put food on the table or earn a quick buck to pay their rent. Those people never last. And that's a small example, but that example actually applies to every industry. Why are you employing this person? We've got a client, a fintech company that is growing at a phenomenal pace. And these guys are doubling their headcount. And they've been working very well even during COVID, although they were working remotely. The company is performing very well. And we do some recruitment for them. And when we identify the top 3 candidates for that role, we give all 3 of them a motivational map. And we tell the company, this is what it's going to cost you. But that will tell us exactly, after everything that we've read about this person, he meets the criteria for the job, he's good, all of that is great. Let's really see, why does he want to work for you? What's motivating him? If money is the only reason why he wants to work for you, then if somebody else is going to give him $5,000 or $10,000 more, he's going to leave. Let's see if he's really interested in working for you because of what you offer. You are busy developing AI technology for the financial services sector. You guys are developing some amazing stuff. Is that the reason why he wants to work for you? Because he wants to learn. He wants to advance his knowledge and experience in AI. And that's why he wants to work for you. Then he's going to make a career. He's going to stay with you for a long time. And we started doing recruitment for these guys late 2019. We've placed about 6 people there in this time. Not one person has left. And so we are a recruiter of choice for these guys. And we're happy that we are able to find them that people. And we will only choose those people that really want to make a career out of the job, as opposed to just taking a job for the sake of a job. And so all that is part of that whole recruitment process as to, are you recruiting people purely on the basis of the skills that you require? Or are you looking much deeper into the whole of the person? What's driving that person? Why is that person interested in your organization and not in another organization offering a similar service as what you are offering?
So we're looking at the skills that people need for the future of work, but we also need to identify the motivation for what what they are looking for and how you're going to, or I guess, hire the best employees that match your company,
That's right.
your business. Yeah.
That's
So
right.
it's certainly a change that we have to make to how we approach recruitment and how we approach the training that we give our existing employees. So there's a lot to consider. I think what we're seeing is this whole move back out of lockdown has opened up so many other issues that businesses need to address. And I think, COVID's been a catalyst for people having to look critically at their business. But I think it's also, these issues were coming. They were there, always developing in the business. And I think it's been brought to a head, but we've got, I guess, two choices here. We can either try and go back to the way things were and force everybody back to the office, or we can adapt, and skill to create a better working environment and better companies, more profitable businesses, better relationships with our employees and our customers. And I think if we adopt and adapt and skill, I think we're going to go a long way towards doing that.
Yeah, skilling is absolutely important in this new future of work. If you're not going to skill your employees, you're not going to offer them flexibility, and also, you got to be prepared to accept that people are going to come with options. Everybody has a choice today. They can choose to work for you, and this is where the whole topic about the great resignation comes in. This is one of the reasons why we're getting to that point of the great resignation. When this guy coined it the great resignation, I don't know if you know where it actually came from. It was a psychologist by the name of Anthony Klotz who was having a chat with his wife, and he just happened to use this word that we're getting to the point where we're gonna have the great resignations coming through. And that is because employees have choices. They're not happy with the status quo. They're not happy with the way things have been pre-pandemic. And now they want that flexibility. They want to be able to be given the choices to decide how they want to work. And what are you going to do for me for the kind of service that you want from me? In return, what are you going to do for me as an employer? That is what they're looking for. And if employers don't change, they're going to find that the workforce that has been with them for some time, that there will be those mass resignations. As much as we say here in Australia that we don't think we're going to have a very high, or we haven't lost a lot of people in bigger organizations during this pandemic. I think come March next year, and there was a very interesting article actually by the ABC. It's a very good article. It actually highlights a lot of these things where we talk about why millions of employees could quit their jobs post-pandemic. And they're forecasting that once things open up, let's say everybody goes back to work next week and more so from the 1st of December, people are going to go back to the workplace and get to see exactly what's happening, what changes are being implemented or by the organization, and whether those changes resonate with them. Mm-hmm. If those changes don't resonate, people will leave. Now, what we're also finding is that many people are quitting their jobs and starting up their own businesses, which in many cases I'm thinking is not a good thing, because I've spoken to some people and I asked them, why are you quitting your job, or why are you starting your own business? And they said, well, I'm sick and tired of working for this boss. I want the flexibility. I want to be able to do things that, around my family. And I said, okay, so you're thinking of opening up a restaurant. And what skills do you have? Have you got any skills in there? No. Okay, so why are you opening up a restaurant? Is it purely because you're looking for that flexibility? You're looking for lifestyle? Do you think you're really going to get that lifestyle opening up a restaurant? And they haven't thought about it. There are people who have not thought about this at all. There's a guy who started a transport business. He's been working for a transport company for all his life, working life. And he decided, I've just had enough and I'm going to start my own transport company. And I said, okay. And I said, how many trucks have you got? And he says, 1. And I said, okay, so you're going to deliver containers for a company. How many containers do you think you're going to deliver in one day? And is that what you're going to deliver in one day going to be sufficient for you to cover your overheads and still earn a decent income out of that? Right. Have you got money to add to your fleet of 1? And he said, that will come later. And I said, you need to think about these things before you just think that, okay, because you've got the knowledge, you've got the expertise, that might not necessarily mean that it's sufficient for you to start your own business.
Thank you, Harry. And look, if you would like to get in touch with Harry or anyone from Keystone Active Learning to find out more about what you can do to equip yourself for the future of work, the links to their contact details will be in the show notes and also in the transcription. And if you have a question for us at any time, please reach out to us through the website, www.thebusinessbehindyourbusiness.com. Thanks for listening. Do you have a question you'd like our team of experts to answer? If you do, send your question to podcast@thebusinessbehindyourbusiness.com. To hear more from The Business Behind Your Business, don't forget to subscribe using your favourite podcast player. Or you can visit the businessbehindyourbusiness.com website.